Okay, we're going to talk through folding one unit for the trifold interlock, the tri-point interlock for vertices. This can be used for the dodecahedron or a few others that have three-way vertices. So the first step is we need to turn a square into an equilateral triangle. And the easiest way to do this is to do a valley fold with the uncolored side up. If you're using two-colored paper, then, or two-sided paper, then it doesn't matter. But you want to do a valley fold that way. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this top corner, we're going to fold it so that it meets with this horizontal line, and so that this point is the corner of the paper, more or less. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but close enough would be best. Close enough is best. And crease this nice and hard, because we're going to tear it later. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, there we go. As you can see, it's not quite perfect, but that's okay, because they don't have to be. They just have to be close enough. So now I'm going to reverse and do the same thing the other way around, just to really hammer home that crease. There we go. All right. Now, the way that I usually do this to create a tear on these is I run my tongue across it. You can also use a knife, you could use a press, you can do whatever you want, scissors, but I find that doing the fold and then running my tongue ever so slightly across it wets it just enough that we can tear it easily. And I'm not going to do that on camera, but I'm going to do it real quick. Okay, so now we have done both of these. We have wet them both, and we're going to gently separate along that line. And you want to try to do this while preserving the point of your triangle as best as possible, because you're going to need all 3 points to be as pointy as possible. So you see there's a little bit extra here, but that's okay, it's not a big deal, because the points of the triangle are going to be used as part of the interlock. And a lot of modular origami use an interlock, and some people use a different word. I like to call it an interlock, because that's what it does. It locks the modules together. It locks the units, the modules, whatever you want to call them. I like to call them units, because, you know. So this is discard. You can find something to do with it later if you feel like it, but this is our unit. So now that we have an equilateral triangle, what we're going to do is we're going to take each middle line, we're going to crease that this way. With the white side up, we're going to do valley folds for each one, because we need to have that for the interlock, and we need it for the centroid. I think that's the right word, but the point where the 3 midlines meet is what's important. So now that we have those, we're going to take each point one by one. We're going to take that point and we're going to fold it halfway across so that it is on top of that midline. So this will create a fold right through the middle. Now you can do these one on top of the other. I tend to undo it and then do the next one. Oh, something to call out. So you see how there's already a crease right here? That's from when we did the half and vertical of the square. You want to just ignore this line. Don't use it anymore. I know it's right there, but don't use it, because it'll just throw you off from the sides that you need to be folding. All right, now that we've done this, with all three sides. What we're going to do is we're going to take it back in and pay very close attention to where these lines meet. So the point where those lines meet, right there, we're going to fold this against itself so that we have some pointing out here and we have a fold about here. This is what actually creates the interlock. So we want to make sure that that is even along this crease before we fold it. I'm going to leave that right where it is. We're going to do the next one. So you see how this one's a little off, but it's not that big a deal. What's really important is that this line stays with the general crease. So go ahead and fold him. And let's do the last one. There we go. Okay. So how perfect these ratios are will affect how stable each of these units are, but you've got a lot of room. You've got a lot of room to mess up. So it looks like this one is not quite right. So I'm going to go ahead and correct him just ever so slightly. Get him. There we go. All right, that's better. So now that we have these, we're going to take these colored parts that are sticking out. We're going to fold them in. You want to make sure that you're not too tight along this line because these are also part of the interlock. We want them to be close, but not so close that there's no space between them. Because the 3D part happens next. We're going to do that for all three sides. Come on. There we go. Okay, now we turn the whole thing over. So you'll notice that we have some existing creases here. So we're going to triple mountain fold the three midlines of our triangle while tucking the bottom in. The way that I tend to do this is I pinch so that these meet in the center, so that we have our midlines up to the center, and then those are reversed on the other side where the locks are. So that is one unit. I'm going to pull one of the other units that I've already done to demonstrate how they lock together. So this is a partially completed model. This is one of the things that I like to make with these. I'm going to pull a different color. Okay, so the way that these fit together, I'm going to do this a little closer to the camera so you can see what's going on. So you see how, there we go, you see how there's a little bit of space inside of there. The way that these fit together is, we're going to take this one and notice that we are overlapping this way, and then that is going to go into that pocket. Slide all the way in. Now don't worry about going like super hard when you do this, just good enough is good enough. Yes, so that is how they fit together. Repeat that 20 times, and then you'll have one of these bad boys. All right. It might be helpful to demonstrate how to put it in with the big boy. So assembling these things is one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing this since I was in high school. It's one of my favorite, like, oh, I've got a couple of hours and nothing to do. But now that I'm getting back into origami in general, I'm really enjoying putting these things together. So that is how they fit together. And if you look on the inside, you can see all of these little interlocks, all of these little units are the same kind of things. And when you put one of these guys together, sometimes it's not the most stable. Sometimes when I make these, if I want to give them to a child or something, for that child to be like, ooh, fun toy, then I will use glue or a little bit of tape, and sometimes even staples at these points to hold it all together more stable-wise. But traditionally, what you want to do is you want to just use the interlocks and just use the internal tension of the model. Anyway, that's how you do it.